So today I thought I'd do a little more fun video and rank the classes I think in Vanilla WoW that I think is the worst class all the way up to the best class, and see, who I think is the head honcho, who's the best class in Vanilla WoW, what's the worst class, how these classes rank up against each other. And I just want to say first of all that some of these classes do perform the roles the best they can in one spec, but I'm really judging the class as a whole. But in the end, at the end of the day, I think these classes would be ranked anyway based on how good they are in role anyway. But anyway, so yeah, I'm starting from the worst all the way to the best. Now, you may disagree with me. Let me know in the comments, and we will see, because I'm sure there'll be differing opinions on which class you think is the best and which is the worst. But anyway, so let's start. And the first one is the worst one, going 1 through 9 here, and that is easily my favorite class, Druid. Now, why do I think Druid is the worst class in game? Well, first of all, Druid is mainly brought to raid for healing, because they have two other specs. Obviously, you have Feral spec and they have Moonkin spec. Now, Moonkin spec isn't very viable. It's very low DPS. They go out of mana very quickly. They're just not brought to raids at all, guys, in Vanilla WoW. Feral Druids, not really brought to raids at all in Vanilla WoW. They might once in a blue moon be brought as a Feral tank. But other than that, guys, the main reason Druids are brought to raids is for healing. The problem is, they ain't even the best healers in the game. So not only are you only brought to raids for healing, you're only brought to raids as a class that's not going to be top in meters or anything. So, at the end of the day, Druids really are only brought to raids for their Innervate and Battle Res spells, and as healers. Not only that, guys, Druids aren't really good in PvP either, especially as healers. I mean, yeah, you got your Rejuve, I guess, and you got your Travel Form, right? But you're still spamming a healing touch. There's no really instant cast spells you can really use. You're just really not going to be very viable in PvP. You might fuck around with Feral Druid PvP, but other than that, Druid, guys, I hate to say it because it's my favorite class, hands down the worst in Vanilla WoW. Hunter, number 8. Now, why do I think Hunter is one of the worst classes in Vanilla WoW? It's because it is. Hunters are really only brought for raids for trank shots to debuff and rages off the bosses. And to be fair, Hunters do bring some CC with Trap, but at the end of the day, guys, Hunters don't really bring a lot of viable DPS, and not only do they not bring a lot of viable DPS, they aren't really kingpins in PvP, but they are pretty viable. They're more viable than most classes in PvP. But at the end of the day, guys, Hunter isn't really viable with DPS, and that's why I think Hunter is one of the worst classes in Vanilla WoW. So what's up next? Got Shaman. Now, Shaman, maybe a little surprised why I ranked this so low, is because as a whole, Shamans suck in Vanilla. They really do as a whole. Shamans do bring some viability with their totems and their ankhs, especially after a wipe and raiding. You can just ankh up and start rezzing people. There's in the raid. They're really only brought for healers. But other than that, guys, and I think they are better healers than Druids. But the problem is, enhancement specs and elemental specs in Vanilla WoW, forget it. They ain't that good. Never really brought to raids, and in PvP they're pretty much a joke. Now, you can pretty much, in PvP, spec as enhance and fuck around, kind of like a Druid with Feral Druids, but at the end of the day, guys, like a Druid, you're really going to be healing. Now, you do bring some viability options with totems and ankhs, and Wind Fury, obviously, but it is going to be ranked above a Druid and Hunter because they are better healers than Druids, and they can be viable with their ankhs and their utilities. Paladins. Now, Paladins are so low because, again, their specs as a whole just suck, man. Ret is not very viable DPS. You can't tank as a Paladin in Vanilla. You're really only going to be healing. And Paladins, honestly, guys, they're in the middle of the row here because they do bring really powerful buffs, and they are some of the best healers in the game when they are holy, and they're healing the raid. So that's why I think Paladins is an okay spot. They do bring a lot of good heals. They do bring a lot of good buffs. But at the end of the day, not really good with the other specs, and that's why Paladin's kind of weak in Vanilla WoW. But as a holy Paladin, strong as hell. So you're kind of making up ground there. Warlock, number 5, one of my favorite classes as well. Now, I'm ranking this above the Mage for a couple reasons. Because, first of all, guys, let's be fair. Warlocks are pretty good in Vanilla. They bring a lot of utilities. Their DPS ain't bad. They bring Soul Stones. They bring Health Stones, They can summon, right? The only problem with Warlocks is, they don't really bring much CC other than fear or banish. Now, I feel like a mage is more powerful, and we'll get there, but mage is more powerful. They got that strong AI buff. They got polymorph. They got strong AoE. Warlocks, they're kind of lacking in those departments, right? Now, Warlocks are still good DPS, and they can be pretty good in PvP, and they have some very viable spec options with different specs. And that's why I rank it right in the middle. Now, Mage number 4 right after Warlock. Why do I put it right after Warlock? Well, Mage is in a pretty good spot. They do really good DPS. They're pretty good in PvP. They have strong AoE. They have really strong CC and polymorph. And they just have a lot of survivability. The only thing is, the other classes are just better. The other classes are just better than Mage, you know? And I'm going with the top 3 after this, but Mage is a very powerful spell in Vanilla, and I'm going to rank it on number 4. You know, you got the polymorph, you got all those good spells that I think Mage is in a very good spot in Vanilla WoW. Now, Priest. Now, this is the top 3 here. We're going to start with Priest, top 3. Dun dun dun. Priest number 3. So, why do I put Priest number 3? Priest is pretty powerful in Vanilla WoW. They got 3 specs that can be viable. You know, you got Holy Priest, which is, you know, the raid spec. You know, great heals. You can be Shadow. Especially when they increase the debuff slots. And I forgot what patch it was, but I believe it was a ZG patch. And Shadow Priests are really strong. Are not really strong, but they are brought to raids. You know, for the Shadow debuff for Warlocks. And Disc Priests, they can be viable in PvP. It's just, it's kind of, I don't really play Priest, but from what I've heard and from what I've told other players, Disc Priest can be viable in PvP. Priest is one of the best healers in the game, might be the best healer. And of course they bring Fortitude buff. It's just overall, guys, Priest is in a great spot in Vanilla WoW. There's not really a spec where you can say, wow, this spec sucks, I never want to use it. Kind of like a Paladin where Ret and Prot is kind of iffy, you know. But Priest, I think, is in a way better spot as a healer class. Probably the best healer class in Vanilla overall. Now, do I think they're better healers than Paladins? That's up to you guys to decide. I'm not really sure. I don't really play Alliance. But if it was up... Now, if it's up to me, I would put Priest above Paladin simply because it's overall just in a better spot with the specs. Now, what's number 2 before number 1? Guys, it's going to be Rogue. Rogue number 2. Rogue number 2. Why do I put Rogue number 2, not Rogue number 1? Well, we'll get there, but Rogue is one of the most, hands down, the best DPS class in the game. The best DPS class in the game, hands down, I think, especially early on. And that's why it's one of the most, you know, overplayed classes, because it's a little overpowered. It's very, very good in PvP, obviously. Probably the best class in PvP. Best class in rating is DPS-wise. It's fun to play. You can stealth around. It's just overall in a great spot in Vanilla WoW, and that's why I'm putting it as number 2. And the only reason why it's not number 1, and obviously yours truly last number 1 here, and you can probably guess it yourself, is hands down Warrior. And why is Rogue not number 1, Warrior what number 1 is? And Warrior number 1 simply is the best, simply because both their specs are the best in the game. You know, Warrior can be a prot warrior, and they're the best tanks in Vanilla WoW. You can be, you know, DPS, and DPS warriors are the best, can be the best in Vanilla WoW, especially early on. And, you know, they kind of compete with rogues for top DPS. And the fact that warriors can have a role, guys, where they can have top DPS, and they can have another role with a top tank, is just simply makes it immediately the best class in the game. Hands down. And not only that, warriors, they have so many cool cooldowns, like Recklessness, Shield Wall. They have all different stances that you can fuck around with. They have huge survivability. Any class can play it, really. You know, it's just, I think, probably the best, hands down, class in Vanilla WoW. Best tank, one of the best DPS, and at the end of the day, guys, too, let's be real, they got like the best armor sets, right? They look the coolest. So that's how I would rank the classes for me personally. Let me know if you agree or not, but that's my choices for rank 9 to 1, from Druid all the way to Warrior. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.